Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Okay, so if you've ever stared at your phone screen and felt that familiar, sinking feeling of seeing 0 bars, this is exactly what you need to see. Today we are exploring an absolutely massive leap in Indian telecommunications. We're talking about a shift that could literally make the phrase, no signal, a thing of the past. We're going to break down everything you need to know about BSNL's groundbreaking new direct-to-device satellite phone pilot project.
Because, we've all been there, right? You're trying to make a crucial call, or maybe you're out exploring some remote trail, or you're just driving on a highway right between two towns, and boom, your signal drops out completely. Doesn't matter if you have the newest, most expensive smartphone on the market, in that moment, it basically becomes a very shiny, very expensive paperweight. But what if your phone didn't actually rely on a tower at all? What if your connectivity came straight from the sky? To understand why this is such a game changer, think about the physical limits of traditional cell networks. They absolutely require a line of sight to terrestrial towers on the ground. That means their signals are incredibly easy to block, whether it's by mountains, dense jungles, or even just the curvature of the Earth if you happen to be out on the ocean. Satellites, on the other hand, they bypass all of that. They beam connectivity directly down from space. It's basically like having a cell tower suspended in orbit, showering connectivity across the entire planet, completely ignoring those geographical barriers.
So let's jump right into Section 1, BSNL's ultimate solution.
Enter their brand new direct-to-device satellite phone. They recently trialed this successfully in partnership with Viasat, and this isn't just some sci-fi concept for the distant future. This is functional, working technology being deployed right now. And get this, it isn't just some basic, low-bandwidth emergency beacon that only pings out SOS signals. According to a BSNL Assistant General Manager, this device actually supports full video calls and standard voice calls from anywhere, jungles, mountains, eventually even airplanes. The really fascinating part, though, is that it doesn't just talk to other sat phones. It can seamlessly connect to regular GSM smartphones using these unique 5- to 6-digit shortcode numbers. Plus, the whole shebang is built entirely on indigenous technology under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. No imported tech here.
Okay, but before you run out and throw away your current smartphone, we have to talk about Section 2, the catch, astronomical costs.
Because, yeah, there is a massive catch. This specialized handset, which was launched in collaboration with Tata's Nelco, costs a staggering 1.34 lakh rupees. And yes, that includes taxes, but still, that immediately moves this device way out of the consumer gadget category and firmly puts it into the realm of specialized, high-end enterprise hardware.
And the day-to-day running costs? Just as extreme. Let's put this into perspective. If you're an everyday consumer, a typical monthly mobile recharge for unlimited calling might cost you, around 300 to 500 rupees? Compare that to the commercial satellite tariff for this new device. The service alone requires a massive monthly commitment that completely upends how we usually think about phone bills.
Just taking a look at these official DOT tariffs from the Ministry of Communications, commercial users are paying over 11,000 rupees a month. And that astronomical fee, it only gets you 60 minutes of free talk time. Once you burn through that single hour, you are literally paying 25 rupees for every single additional minute or text message. Even for government users, the prices are slightly subsidized, but still incredibly steep, about 3,500 rupees just for 16 minutes of talk time.
Which naturally brings us to Section 3. Who can actually buy it?
With those insane hardware and running costs, who is this actually for right now? Currently, this is heavily restricted to very specific, mission-critical, enterprise and government use cases. We're talking about defense personnel securing our borders, maritime operators out on offshore oil rigs, disaster response teams who have to enter flood or earthquake zones where all the local infrastructure is totally wiped out, and mining workers deep in remote territories.
And here's the thing. Even if you happen to fall into one of those categories, or you're some extreme adventure traveler with super deep pockets, you still can't just stroll into an electronics store and buy one off the shelf. Nope, the Department of Telecommunications requires a rigorous, multi-step authorization process. You've got to submit your KYC, declare exactly why you need it, exactly where you'll be using it, and for how long. Only then can you legally obtain DOT clearance to actually own the device.
Now, this strict monitoring isn't just arbitrary red tape, it's entirely historical. Regulations in India were severely tightened following the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. See, because satellite phones completely bypass local telecom networks and cellular towers, they are much, much harder for local authorities to monitor. So this strict DOT authorization is there to ensure that these powerful off-grid networks aren't misused by unauthorized individuals.
All right, moving on to Section 4, the tech and corporate players. Let's zoom out and look at the broader corporate landscape here.
The Indian satellite communications market is actually exploding right now. It's projected to hit a massive $3.77 billion by 2026. BSNL and Nelco are jumping into a space that has traditionally been totally dominated by global imports. Devices like the Inmarsat ISAT-2 and the Iridium 9555, which sit around that $1,100 mark. By launching an indigenous device with a really high average selling price, BSNL and Nelco are essentially creating a temporary monopoly in highly regulated Indian dark zones. They're leveraging those strict DOT approvals to lock in stable, high-margin revenue from government and enterprise clients who absolutely need top-tier security and indigenous tech.
So, what's next? Section 5, the future for everyday users.
Because I know what you're thinking. What does this pilot project, with its lakh rupee phones and massive government oversight, mean for the average person who just wants the safety of being able to make a call from a hiking trail? Well, what's genuinely fascinating about this current pilot is the somewhat retro hardware reality. Because the phone needs to communicate directly with a satellite orbiting way up in space, it still requires line of sight. There's a great quote from a BSNL official that hits the nail on the head. Because it comes from line of sight, that antenna is needed to catch the receiver. Which means, yeah, right now these handsets are pretty bulky and have literal physical pull-out antennas just to grab a signal.
But think back for a second. Do you remember the really early days of mobile phones in India? Those massive, unwieldy bricks with huge antennas where you actually had to pay steep charges just to receive an incoming call? Satellite tech is literally on that exact same evolutionary path right now. As the customer base scales up and the technology inevitably shrinks, BSNL projects that hardware costs will drop significantly, potentially halving to around 50,000 to 60,000 rupees in the near future, with tariff rates eventually dropping to match our standard data plans.
And that leaves us with such a fascinating thought to wrap up on. This BSNL pilot project, it's just the very first step in a massive paradigm shift. Sure, right now it's mostly for soldiers and ships, but as this tech shrinks down into the microchips of tomorrow and prices become actually consumer-friendly, we're looking at a near future where dead zones simply do not exist. So the real question is, will your next major smartphone upgrade even bother looking for a cell tower? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your eyes on the skies, and I'll catch you in the next one.